Coming up on this episode of Murky Sebs Wild Underwater Adventures. For this adventure, we are heading southwest from Brisbane through a mountain range called Cunningham's Gap, which is what we are looking at the moment. This is going to be our most ambitious journey we've ever been on, so come along and let's get murky. Howdy. We are currently in Stanthorpe, which is the closest town to where we're camping, and they have a pretty awesome public park here. It's got a big waterfall and a nice river flowing through it that you can see. You're able to walk right alongside it. And there's all this foam. All this foam that's coming off the waterfall. It's pretty cool. But it's time we go and try and find some fish. Hopefully there's a creek that's a bit clearer nearby. But before we leave Stanthorpe, I wanted to show you around this beautiful park. There are a few lovely ducks and some broken bottles, but also a beautiful water dragon warming up in the sun on these lovely warm rocks. The water is flowing very quickly here, and I wonder what that means for the rivers we will be investigating. So we drove to a place called Queen Mary Falls to see what fish call this area home. There was a beautiful rainbow from the water droplets coming off the falls, which, just like the river in Stanthorpe, were flowing much more than usual. So I decided to walk up a river that was downstream from the waterfalls to have a look around. It was a truly beautiful area, though it was very slippery from all the mud caused by the recent rain. I loved this tunnel as well, and the way it looked with the water flowing alongside the path, but I wasn't able to spot any fish here, so it was time to move on to our next stop, which was Girraween National Park. And straight away, the first creatures we were greeted by were these beautiful eastern grey kangaroos, which are the second largest mammal living in Australia, getting up to a maximum size of about 2 meters. The majority of their diet is made up from eating various species of grasses, and they're most often seen in the morning before they retreat into the forest during the day. They are quite unique when it comes time to reproduce. The females have 3 vaginas, which is a trait shared with all marsupials, otherwise known as the pouched mammals. The female kangaroo is usually permanently pregnant, except on the day she gives birth. They have the ability to halt the development of an embryo until the previous baby, known as a joey, is able to leave their pouch. They are the size of a jelly bean when they are born, and the mother can have a joey that's left her pouch, while another one is living in her pouch and have an embryo waiting to be born. During the dry conditions, or when there is very little food around, the males will not produce sperm, and the females will only conceive if there has been the right amount of rain to produce enough food. They're very unique and really interesting creatures, and I was so pleased for these to be the first animal I encountered of the adventure. Wow, we're at a place called Girraween National Park, and we're exploring the rivers around here to see what fish and other aquatic creatures are living within the national park and the surrounding rivers. There's potentially a lot of rare and interesting species that call this area home, but it's going to be quite a challenge to be able to find any of them, as it's been raining. The rivers are flowing really quickly and they're really murky as well, so all of that makes it incredibly difficult to spot any fish, but I'm going to do my best and hopefully find something living within these waters. Girraween National Park is an enormous granite boulder pretty much. All around us is just granite. as you can see. And then there's this awesome river flowing through it. And it's flowing really quickly. I went for a walk around this amazing area to see what other creatures I could find. There wasn't anything in the water that I could see, which was flowing much faster than usual. But as I was walking along the trail, I spotted a copper-tailed skink. But it ran away so quickly, I was only able to get a very brief glimpse of it. They get the name copper-tailed skinks because of their orange tail. And what an amazing creature they are. We were really lucky to even get this brief glimpse of them because it's rare that you'll be able to see one, even though they're relatively common. Doesn't the water here look amazing? I'm already blown away by how beautiful this place is. This is basically the most southerly point of Queensland. And because of that, and several mountain ranges, all of the fish found here are totally different to the ones found anywhere near Brisbane. And I really hope that we can find some of them because we've traveled for about 3 or 4 hours just to get here. And we're going to be spending a few days here and checking out all the surrounding creeks. I'm really hoping we can find some blackfish and some galaxis, and there's some really rare crayfish here as well. But there's all sorts of creatures that live in this national park that we don't get around Brisbane. So I'm really interested to find out what's actually living here and what I can manage to capture on film. Just looking around in the water, there's no movement at all, which isn't a good sign. But I'm going to keep searching and hopefully find something. I really can't thank ANGFA New South Wales enough for funding this trip. It's such a big help and I'm very, very grateful for it because I've always wanted to come here and have a look at the wildlife that lives over this side of Queensland, because it's so different to what's found around Brisbane. And this is all possible because of the good people of ANGFA New South Wales. So make sure you head over to their website and check them out. They do very similar stuff to what I do. They go out and document fish and publish them in a magazine, which if you're a member, you have access to. You can have a look at all their issues and learn about all the different species that they check out in the wild. And then they go on field trips, which members are allowed to go on, and they survey the fish living in the nearby areas. It's a really cool organization, and yeah, they sponsor this video, so make sure you head over and if you like this sort of thing that I do, you'll probably like what they do as well. So head over and check out ANGFA New South Wales. It's significantly colder around Stanthorpe, which is where Girraween National Park is located. It's at least 5 to 10 degrees cooler than it was in Brisbane. And we're still in Queensland. We're basically as southerly as you could possibly get in Queensland. And there's just enormous granite boulders everywhere. It's a really unique landscape. I really haven't seen anything quite like it. There's all these beautiful trees. Like, look at these awesome varieties of gum tree. I think they look really beautiful. They're slightly different to the ones that I get near my home. I'm really enjoying just checking out all of these rocks and what's living in between all the cracks. There's lots of little skinks and spiders and insects. But I really want to find one of the orange crayfish that live in the national park here, but they are super rare, so I don't hold out much hope for running into them. And I stopped by the path to have a look under the water and see if we could get lucky and spot some of the rare creatures that call this area home. It was very murky and the visibility wasn't great, but I could see from above that there were some signs of movement in here, so I definitely wanted to get my camera in and have a look. You can notice these plants aren't always submerged. They're actually some kind of shrubs that grow above the water, but they're submerged because of the large amount of rainfall that this area has had recently. And I just got a glimpse of something swim by my camera, which on the next episode we will be investigating and finding out just exactly what that creature was. So until next time, keep it murky.